Meeting to order. We'll begin tonight's meeting with the roll call.
Ken Fletcher.
Here.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Here.
Ben Twitchell.
Here.
Jeff West.
Here.
Patricia West. Here. Steve Russell.
Yes. And pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from
So move.
last minute. Moved and seconded. Any discussion, omissions, additions, corrections? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Both same sign, passes. Communications. I'm going to begin with communications by taking one of our resolutions out of order. Resolution 14, 2019. If someone would put that on, to make a motion to put that on the table, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Thank you.
Resolution 14, 2019, a resolution providing for recognition of Winslow High School senior Michaela Reynolds for her outstanding achievement in leadership and citizenship, resulting in being awarded the 2019 Girls Rock Award. Be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas Michaela is the Assistant Director of the Out and Allied Youth Theater, a volunteer with the REM Community Group, the creator of the Clothing Exchange Closet, an active member of the Save the Mill fundraising committee in North Vassalboro, and working on organizing a child care center within the mill. And whereas she has been involved with Wimpia Snow Women's Leadership Institute for 3 years, a member of the service unit for the Girl Scouts, the youth representative of Poverty Action Coalition, an active member of the South End Teen Center, and is spearheading the creation of a needs closet in this facility as well. And whereas Michaela is on the Lawrence Civil Rights Team and has a mind for increasing justice and equality in the world around her. Now, therefore, be resolved by Town Council of the Town of Winslow that Winslow High School senior Michaela Reynolds is hereby recognized for her outstanding achievement in leadership and citizenship, resulting in being awarded the 2019 Girls Rock Award. Any discussion?
Is she here?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
If there's no further
Would you like to get up and say a
yeah,
few words?
we got something to presentate.
I'll just say thank you from here. Thank you, everyone.
We're actually going to come up and have a photo taken with your award. But first, let's pass the resolution. All in favor?
Growing up, haven't you?
I know, haven't I? It's been a long time since I was sitting at your kitchen table eating.
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
Yes, it was.
We take one more.
Michaela knows me.
Okay.
Have more. You should.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I don't know where you have time to go to school.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations.
You're still welcome at my table.
Okay, now we will move on to communications. This would be a time if anyone from the audience would like to step up to the mic and speak on any subject that they would like. If not, we'll move on to reports of committees and commissions, and we'll begin with the town manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I have in my report that I'll mention is February 19th, we foreclosed on 6 properties. Fortunately, none of them were occupied residential. So I've written the owners, prior owners, a letter giving them 90 days to reacquire the properties. And hopefully they will do that. And that's all I have.
Any questions from the town manager? All set, we'll move on. You have the department reports. Any questions for any department heads? Questions? Financial committee report and the financial report. If there's no questions, I entertain a motion to accept all reports.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Both same sign. Passes. Moving on to old business.
Moving on right past that.
Pardon? Moving on to old business. Order number 3, 2019, providing for an amendment to order number 11, 2016, by increasing the project costs on Clinton Avenue MPI project with Maine DOT to $680,000, which increases the town's portion by $180,000 to $430,000. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion.
So if I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to refresh my recollection,
Paul's not here.
Paul's not here, then you'll have to know. This was a project, Clinton Avenue, we were gonna do originally, I can't remember the number of feet, and then we had DOT money left, so we then decided to do more feet.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not the original project, it's a change in scope essentially.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
initially, it was just going to Monument Street, but we were able to go.
Together.
Yes, Raymond?
One of the things I know, just driving up here today on Clinton Avenue, is, I don't know, I can't recall a road that has more heaves at this particular time after being redone than the cracks in the pavement that I see in the potholes. And I wish Paul was here, but I was gonna send him a note tomorrow, but boy, oh boy, I think that road, by the time the spring comes, is gonna be beat again. I mean, I know there was some outstanding work that has to be done. Wow.
There's still more work that has to be done.
I looked at that up by Kyle's house there, where, you know, what passed, where it was just coming in today. Holes in the pavement that you can see the dirt already.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we've been in communications with the company that did the
Yeah,
paving,
yeah.
coming back
yeah.
and redoing some
I
portions.
think we still have some money in escrow, don't we?
Well,
Or is that a double project?
we're hoping it's not going
Come cost us something.
But that Clinton
What
Ave
do you
job
think?
didn't go out that far.
No, but the paved part that they did is
Not
really
good.
bad.
Letting
Jerry, what do you
water into
think?
it.
You travel.
Oh, I know that.
The portion from the tracks to Kidder Street isn't in that bad a shape.
Beyond that.
Beyond that, to Halifax Street's getting beat.
Yeah.
And plus, we have a few little puddles, and that's because they didn't string it.
Okay.
and that's what we're working with them to come back.
Okay, okay.
Take care of.
Are we all set? Any further comments, questions? Is that a roll call?
It
It
is.
is a roll call vote. You all
Ken
right?
Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes?
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Patricia West. Yes. Steve Russell.
Yes. Moving on to order number 4, 2019, providing for amendment to the order 13, 2018 by increasing the project cost for the storm drain system on Halifax Street to a total cost not to exceed $320,000, an increase of $70,000.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Is that gonna fix a dip in the road?
Yeah, that'll be taken care of this
Oh,
week.
okay.
Well, actually, on this one, it won't touch the dip in the road. That's under the other project.
Right.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Patricia West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. Moving on to order number 5, 2019, an order providing for authorization of town manager to sign the attached contract with KV-COG to update the town's 2008 comprehensive plan at a cost not to exceed $25,000. Be it ordered by the Town Council of Town Winslow as follows. Whereas the town's 2008 comprehensive plan needs to be updated, and whereas KV-COG assists municipalities with updating their comprehensive plans, and whereas TIF money can be used to fund the project, now therefore be it ordained by the town manager is hereby authorized to sign the attached contract with KV-COG to update the town's 2008 comprehensive plan at a cost not to exceed $25,000.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
So our 2008 comprehensive plan, we worked with KV Cog to do that particular plan. And so I'm proposing that we work with them to renew the plan. And we do have TIF money that will cover the cost of doing that.
Any discussion, questions?
That plan obviously is gonna be, you're gonna work with KV Cog? Does any of the councilors get involved in that? Not usually? or-
No, yes, so,
Usually there's a committee.
yes,
isn't there?
so after the first reading, I'm going to, at the next council meeting, come back with some names
Okay.
and, open it up, so if there's one or two councilors that would like to participate in that process, you can.
Usually a member of the planning board, I think,
Yep.
perhaps, maybe code enforcement.
Correct.
And then any citizens at large that want to work. I think it's worked in the past. Any other questions or discussions? We all set?
It's a, yes.
Is that a roll call?
It is.
Okay, go ahead.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. Moving on to order number 6, 2019, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign the attached employment agreement with Sean O'Leary, hereafter called the chief, to continue to perform the services of police chief. Be it ordered by the town council of the town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the town manager desires to renew the chief's employment contract, which expires on June 10th, 2019, and whereas it is a desire of the town to provide certain benefits, to establish certain conditions of employment, and to set working conditions for the chief, and whereas the chief desires to maintain employment as police chief of the town of Winslow, now therefore be it ordered by the town council of the town of Winslow that the town manager is hereby authorized to sign the attached employment agreement with Sean O'Leary to continue to perform the services of police chief.
So move.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, there would need to be an amendment to the agreement, reducing the 35 miles to 20.
I'll make that amendment.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's been moved and seconded. Amendment is on the floor to reduce the mileage from 30 to 20.
From 35 to
35 to 20. Any discussion on the proposed amendment? Do we need to have a roll call on the amendment?
No.
Okay, all in favor of the proposed amendment, please place your right hand. Opposed, same sign, pass unanimously. Now, order number 6, 2019, as amended. Any discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry
Yes.
Clarion? Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell? Jeff West?
Yes.
Patricia West? Yes. Steve Russell?
Yes. Moving on to Resolution 11, 2019. A resolution providing for the application for a restaurant Class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 liquor license renewal by Lucky Panda Incorporated, doing business as Lucky Panda, 1 Cushman Road, Unit Number 2. What is the question?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimous. Moving on to Resolution Number 12, 2019, a resolution providing for the acceptance of forfeiture assets obtained by the Kennebec County District Attorney's Office. Be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the State of Maine, through Superior Court Civil Action Docket, KENCD CR 19150, has acquired funds that were forfeited by the court. And whereas under 15 MRSA 5824-3, approval must be received from the municipal legislative body before any funds can be transferred back to that municipality. And whereas the town is expected to receive a sum of $5,000, now therefore be resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow hereby approves the transfer of the defendant in REM or any portion thereof pursuant to 15 MRSA 58243 and 58266 to the treasurer of the town of Winslow for the purpose of use within the Winslow Police Department.
So move.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Open for discussion. No discussion? You all set?
What are we gonna use the money for? The police will.
It'll go into the drug forfeiture fund.
Yeah.
And then if something comes up that the chief would like funded, then he'll make that request then.
Any further questions? If not, please raise your right hand. All in favor? Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimous. We will move on to Resolution 13, 2019. A resolution providing for authorization of town manager to reimburse Brenda Massey Labby for expenses, $1,916.35 she incurred as a result of a municipal sewer backup into her basement. Be resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas Brenda Massey Labby's residence at 1 Rancourt Street is connected to the town's municipal sewer system. And whereas on September 19, 2018, following heavy rainfall, the sewer backed up into the basement at 1 Rancourt Street, and the cost to mitigate the event came to $1,916.35. Now, therefore, be resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow, that the town manager is hereby authorized to reimburse Brenda Massey Labby for expenses, $1,916.35 she incurred as a result of a municipal sewer backup into her basement. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go ahead, Ken.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate us taking this up because hopefully it's an unusual event that is not repeated. But, you know, that we did go through, I'll call it finding a fact, but it's not quite that sophisticated. And when you put all the pieces together, the fact that she's lived there 25 years, never happened before, hasn't happened since, there was at least about 760 gallons that accumulated, and it was not water, it was sewer. And when you do the math, assuming that it was generated from the house, it would take a week plus for that amount of water to accumulate. So that led to my conclusion, and I did talk it over with Councilor West, Jeff West, and we concluded that the most likely cause, I can't explain how, but the most likely cause was that had to have been a backup coming from the sewer system. So that's why I would recommend that we consider reimbursing her for the expense. I do have some new information. I talked with the lady this week, and what she's actually found out, the 1900 was really the cleanup portion, but she now has to remove the wall paneling. There's some doors involved. There was a bifold door, and also the flooring. So there's an additional cost that she has or will incur of $3,404. So that would bring the total to $5,321. Because principally what she's found is that, as you would expect, that once that the walls, the floor, there's a couple of pieces of furniture were contaminated, and she can't use them because it's ruined. So I would like us to consider fully reimbursing her for that cost of $5,321.
Should, just out of curiosity, should we wait till she's finished the work?
Well, she is given a quote. Okay, the work hasn't been done. So normally what we would do is, if we do agree with that, is she would have to submit the actual bills. This is a quote on doing it.
On doing it, okay.
But it's not done yet. So I could give that.
But the 1,900 has already been spent.
That's
She hasn't
already
put
been
some.
spent, and she's paid for that.
So would you like to propose an amendment? Or
Yes,
do you
I
want to
would. I'd
revisit
like to
that?
propose an amendment that.
Question on this. You two, West and yourself, you were investigating this?
Yes, we looked
Did
at,
you investigate the 40-year on West Baker?
I was not aware of that.
I brought it up at the meeting, the last meeting, that she was also involved in this sewer backup.
I really would have to have the individual contact us,
I will have her contact you.
right?
We'll review it, yeah. Thank you.
So the amendment would be for a full reimbursement up to $5,321.
So that's the amendment. Is there a second to his amendment?
Second.
There's been a amendment proposed and seconded, and it's on the table. Is there any discussion on the amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment, please raise your right hand.
Do you
Opposed?
have a question?
I did have a quick question and
sorry.
stuff, and it's just like, so at this point in time, if we do have, say there's another sewer backup and they say, well, it rained hard and there's a sewer backup, and then they come to the town again, then do we have a policy in place? Because we can't have counselors, that's not really part of our duty to determine long-term wise for every event that happens in the future, that if there's a backup, what was the cause of the backup? There has to be some mechanism in place going forward through the normal channels of public works that has to say, hey, each case is an individual case, because I don't think we should be in the determining business long-term wise. This was here because she did come to the council. There's no other mechanism in place for that to happen. But in the future, how do we handle these calls? Like now we have another instance here that's happening. So, you know what I mean? Us as councilors can't, Mike, maybe you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have a mechanism in place, so typically the Public Works Department gets notified, they go out, do an assessment and make a determination. In this case, we actually ended up making an insurance claim, and the insurance company denied the claim because they don't cover, acts of God.
Yeah.
So that's why they denied it. And so I think where this is different is the council now, I think, is looking at it from the perspective, is this the right thing? For us to just say, the insurance company said no, so therefore it's no, or should we take a closer look and do what we think is the right thing?
Yeah, good, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think that's a good explanation. I would treat this as an exception, and why I feel comfortable with this is that the individual actually did have the pipe cambered, right? So if, for example, if that camera had shown that there was collapsed pipe or something that physically blocked that pipe, that would have changed my conclusion. But in this case, because that additional work was done, and we all saw the pictures, right? And there were some irregularities in it, but it was an open pipe. It wasn't collapsed and deteriorated to the point where it would stop flow. So I think every case has to be looked at individually, and I hope we don't end up with everyone coming to the council. And that's where I think that when one of these issues comes up, the more information that we can collect at the time is going to be useful for us to determine what's the right course of action. And in this case, fortunately, I think we're able to get a lot of information that if you put it on the balance beam, if you want to use that analogy, the facts seem to say that this was not caused by the sewer line from the house to the sewer, but there must have been an extraordinary event that backed it up. So I'm certainly not a sewer expert, but I think in most cases you can put the facts down and come to a logical conclusion. But if you haven't got the facts, you can't do that.
So going to Ray's question. Is the protocol now that you go to the Public Works Director?
Yes.
That's the way it
And
is now.
if you don't get satisfaction from that, you can appeal to a higher power, which would be us? Is that?
That's the way I would view it. It is like any other issue in the town.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. I was thinking like, it's not the appeals board, it's the zoning board of appeals. So that's a special, says that there was, if there's something that we could take it out of our hands. That's all is, my concern is if it's in the council hands and, you know what I mean, we're gonna be making, we might open up for further things if they
There
don't.
might want to be something between the Public Works Director and us, you're saying, and not one step in between there?
Yeah, that's a kind of like, I hate, in that particular, getting into the council is, we take a view from 5,000 feet, not usually from negative feet, not usually from 10 feet under the ground. We take a more global aspect of it. I know I don't have any sewer expertise, so
Well, I
I
think
couldn't make that decision.
we need to look at the protocol of the Public Works, of how they respond to these incidents too. They need to, take pictures to cover us, check the manhole above and below. When I had my incident several years ago, they opened up the manhole below my house, it was running. Okay, great. Let's get the vac on over here anyway and camera that line. Well, they rotted it 3 times and broke a root ball free in an 8-inch main that gushed for 10 minutes. After they told me it's my my sewer that was the problem. Once they broke through, oh, guess what, it's not you.
So the process works in a sense though, right? In your
Only
case?
because I demanded that they get the back on there.
And that's routine for us now. The truck goes out.
The truck goes
In fact, it went
out.
out that night.
Yeah, no, I understand it, but they also checked the manhole above where I live, on the high side of me. And the water line was, the high water mark was 3/4 of the way up the manhole. Which meant there were four
Something
other
else going
basements
on.
getting ready to do the same thing, had the rain not stopped. So if we could be taking pictures, okay, that water line never made it up to a point where it could have got into her house. That would have been helpful in this situation.
Documentation, so to speak, on their part.
And is anybody in the council familiar with what Mr. Sadusky just mentioned as far as this other home?
No, it's supposed to.
He had mentioned it to me in the last meeting, I think.
But has the Public Works Director been involved in this, you know?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, are we still discussing the amendment at this point, is that right?
Yes, I
And
think
we're
so.
just about to vote on the amendment.
Yes.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment? To increasing it to 4, whatever?
5,321.
If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. 2
And
opposed.
Ben,
2 opposed.
you did, okay. Thank you.
Okay, now back to the original resolution as amended. Any discussion on Resolution 13, 2019? That's not a roll call, is it?
It is not.
Are we all set to vote? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. 2 opposed.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the regular business portion of our meeting, and we now move on to discussion items, beginning with the fish shack.
That's one way to put it.
That's what it says in front of me, fish shack.
I'm the one who put that one in. And the reason is here's a place that down by closed parking lot or enclosed parking lot, and been there for 14 years, plus or minus. And the other thing that happened is they're open only 3 days a week. And all of a sudden, our ordinance says that they have to pay a fee of $50 a month. So now they're shut down until May, I believe. And they'll be open the most is 6 months because it's on wheels, they can move them.
Currently, you're right, that's the way our ordinance reads, it's
Right.
6 months. He's an itinerant vendor, and I went to the town office and talked to Adam most of one afternoon one day to try to sort it out. And the issue is he's an itinerant vendor that doesn't fall into one of our 2 categories, which is temporary
Yeah.
or seasonal. Temporary is 2-month permit, seasonal is 6 months. He's year-round. So what I tasked Adam to do was to go to the planning board and rectify that problem by coming up with I'll leave it up to the planning board, I don't want to tell the planning board what to do. To discuss it with the planning board to see if there's a solution to it. And that's what I'm gonna do at the next planning board meeting, and then bring us back, hopefully a change in our ordinance that would change that. I think that's the only
Well,
thing we
we
can
got a
do at
lot
this point.
of people out there that are a little upset.
Well, he was supposed to have had a permit for these last 14 years for 6
Yeah, I'm
months.
not saying that that's correct or wrong, right?
And that's fine. And the issue that Adam ran into was when you get to a permit that's longer than 6 months, you're supposed to have access to bathroom facilities per state plumbing code. So he called up the state plumbing code officer or whoever it is at the state level. And that guy said, ironically, this is the one I get the most calls about, this part of the ordinance. Believe it or not, that's what the state plumbing director gets more than any other question. And he told Adam he would leave it up to the discretion of the code enforcement officer.
That's right.
If he's in a parking lot, for instance, renting from a place of business, and they'll allow him access. And I think Mr. Poole has already said that, yes, so now it's an issue of the length of time that he's here.
Is the access to plumbing for the person working?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
so it's not the people consuming?
Because he's not serving food.
Right, okay.
He's not serving prepared food, he
So
doesn't
it's
fall
for
under
the
that.
person that is working?
I guess they don't worry about it on a 2-month guy that comes in and sells Christmas trees.
Okay.
And gets a temporary permit for that. But once it's beyond 6 months, the state plumbing code said they had to have. And he's leaving it up to the discretion of local code enforcement officers if the tenant, if the leaser has facilities available to them.
Okay.
And so,
That's what I was led to believe.
and he said actually he could come in and still get a permit under the old system temporarily because he thinks it's gonna be fixed.
Okay.
So he could do that, he could still avail himself to a permit between now and May. I'm thinking that's what he said, and I may be wrong, we talked about so many issues that afternoon. Our code book is not the funnest book to look through and try to figure out what it is, but that's the conclusion we reached, and that it had to be changed at the planning board.
There's a lot of talk on Facebook about it.
Yeah.
So I posted the code and then
Yeah.
it was fine.
Yeah.
And guess what? When they closed down, right, just before Lent,
So Adam's anti-religious because he doesn't let people have fish for Lent, so.
Do we need any more discussion on time? I'm hoping that the planning board's gonna come back with a suitable solution, is what I'm hoping.
now how long?
Well, next time they meet, is he plans on bringing up, and the irony is, I do not believe they meet this month, is that right, Mike? I think it's this month that they don't meet. They had nothing on the agenda.
I'm not sure, I know at one point you did tell me they didn't have anything. on the agenda. So maybe next month.
Who's going to notify the Cantrell? Cantrell.
Adam is in communications.
Okay, good.
And he's already been in communication, I believe, with the owner of Closed Market, that has
Yep.
him come also.
Crisis averted.
Any other talk on the fish tank? Okay, move on to the timeline for the school budget to the council.
Good, Mr. Chairman, I'm the one that asked that to be put on the agenda, and principally, I'm glad that Peter and Joel are here because maybe we can get to some agreement. Believe it or not, that we're coming to a budget, and by charter, the school board submits their approved budget to us by March 27th, and that's in, 16 days, and from our past experience, we always seem to run out of time. So I was hoping that we could at least get a tentative schedule as to when you think you will be able to submit that so we can start the discussions.
Well, first of all, as several of you know, you've been to our meetings, and thank you very much. You've seen what's gone into this budget. So at this point, we've reviewed the 11 cost centers of our budget. And so the next step is to review the revenue portion of our budget. So tomorrow night's special board meeting has been set up, and we've had, as you know, several special board meetings this year. So tomorrow night's special board meeting is to look at those revenues. Once we look at those revenues, we've already set up a meeting Wednesday with the administrators to cut. Because we know that the amount that's there right now is not going to pass muster, simply because our revenues that we have traditionally planned on are not there. One of them being designated fund. The revenue from the state in the 279, we received more revenue from them than the previous year, which is good news. But the bad news is some of the other revenues that we've counted on in the past, as I mentioned, is not there. So we will make our cuts on Wednesday. We will probably need to have another special meeting with the board the following week so that they can look at what we've cut and they can weigh in on if we've cut enough, if we've cut too much, if we've cut things they feel strongly that we shouldn't have cut. The board needs to weigh in on that. Depending on how that goes, we have a regular board meeting scheduled on the 25th. We may or may not be ready to make a recommendation then. If we're not, then it'll probably take us at least another week.
Okay.
We won't know our insurance values at this point until April. So we have budgeted that at 10%. We do know that each percent is worth $25,000 this year. We're hoping that helps us, but that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Would it be helpful, and I just throw it out, our next council meeting will be April 8th, which will be the first reading of the budget, right, Mike? Yeah. Would it be helpful if we tentatively picked the date somewhere before, sometime after March 25th, because it doesn't sound like there's any real possibility that that's going to be finalized before then, and before April 8th, where we could get together?
Absolutely.
And just have the discussion we need to have, so we aren't running around at the last minute. I'd appreciate that if we could do that.
Do you want me to schedule something with?
Yeah, you know, if you could work with Mike and see if we can find a good time for us to meet, rather than trying to do it all on April 8th, because maybe the discussion is going to have to be longer than what we can do on one first reading.
Would that be a
joint meeting?
Just a joint meeting? That's not a regularly scheduled meeting for us, a special meeting. It's just a budget meeting.
The education budget meeting.
So is that a workshop?
Workshop.
Yeah, I'll call it a workshop.
That's what I was looking for.
I was just looking to clarify.
Yeah, workshop was the word I was trying to reach.
Right.
I drew a blank.
We would not be taking a vote. We would be going through and understanding it. That's my thought.
Okay, so workshop.
Workshop.
Any further discussion on Ken's idea? We all set?
Set.
Okay. So you guys will work out a date for us on that. School renovation recommendations.
Right, and of course, that's kind of the same topic. And I know that there's work the school board's got to do, and do we want to have the same type of approach on that, a workshop, so that we can understand it before we get to whatever we have to do with it?
We're seeking information right now so that we can provide something so that we can all understand it. I left that meeting that night and sent an email to both Stephen Blatt Architects and Ledgewood at 11 o'clock that night. At 7:30 the following morning, I was on the phone with both of them. By 8:15, the two of them were talking, understanding how quickly we need to move on this. We simply wanted to let them know you're on board, let's move. Explain to them we came to consensus as a town and as a board that we're going to move forward with two of them. Really stressed that we were looking at leaning towards one option that would give us as much as what the voters voted for, which would have been option 3, and look at what they could do with some value engineering and come back with their recommendations of that option. Hopefully, they can get that somewhere close to what we need so that we could seriously look at that.
So could we leave it the same way, that once you have a time that you think after the work's almost done, just work with Mike and see if we can pick a time that we could actually get together and get ourselves scheduled for that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Would that work, Mr. Chairman?
I think that would, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they have to do some work first, and then when they get that, work with the town manager to come up with a date. Yeah.
And obviously, as we discussed, you know, that evening, that the elementary school was a part that really had not gone out to construction management for a maximum not to exceed type of bid, and that's on the agenda as important, I would imagine, for this.
I had that conversation with the concerns that we had. Joel, Kyle, and I walked through the elementary school last Friday and looked at the space and tried to see what some of the concerns were. And Kyle, I don't want to speak for you, but he's here tonight, so we did do that. I think Kyle was a little bit relieved that at least we were looking at things. So
clearly, we need to get. Ledgewood hasn't seen the elementary renovation proposal, so obviously that hasn't been costed to the degree that we're going to be. We haven't seen the numbers yet, so that's an important part. We wanted to dealing with Kyle to get a better handle on what that, the latest plan was on that, what that entailed, you know, hearing some of Kyle's concerns and such. And so we can put that in the scope of where we are going forward with the budget.
Okay, good,
Trying
thank
to
you.
achieve, so.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any further questions? If not, we'll move on to the last item on discussion items, was Oral History Committee.
Well, Michael, I can, pretty much what there was just a group of us got together and, you know, as citizens age in the town of Winslow, we really want to capture a lot of their experiences through the town, experiences of their lives, to chronicle these people and the events that they've had in the history of the town, whether it be, you know, their childhood, where they grew up, what the town of Winslow was when they were young, what type of war, you know, if they were veterans, what kind of experience. So we got together and we researched oral histories. We got with Chad at Crossroads-TV. He came in and is kind of guiding us a little bit on the interviews, how to interview, who to get to interview, and we've applied for some grants through SAPI and for some other we've got some money, and so we're looking at, right now we've got a list of 5 names that we're looking at for potential for these hour to an hour and a half to 2 hour interviews. And through the library, Chad would supply us with the old history tapes. Then we would chronicle them as far as what type of events that they would, you know, as on the tape. And then we have some people from the school department that were very interested in and have become part of it, that the history classes would then, as research projects and papers, would go and let the kids do these researches on, you know, the people in the town of Winslow. So you actually have, if you're doing a report on World War II, well, they would steer them toward, here's a guy who went to World War II and actually experienced. So it's like a living history and oral history. And of course we want to get the people that, you know, the older people that have the experience, like during the Depression, there's still time to make this happen, and we're trying to do it, and, you know, we're trying to do it for, obviously, you know, no taxpayers' money. So if anybody's interested, and we also have a donation set up, donations that we're gonna take donations. So if anybody's interested in giving donations, Mike, maybe you can speak on that.
So we'd like to get the council's blessing to have it kind of come through the town. So when we get donations, it would be tax deductible. And I would set up an account, a line item, that the donations would be put into to fund the project, if the council were agreeable.
That sounds good to me. You probably have to present us with a resolution in the future on that, right?
Yeah. No, but we're pretty excited about it. I think it's just something that, you know, needed to be done before now, and we can, there's a lot of history, there's a lot of people with a lot of history in the town of Winslow. And I think looking at some of the online, some of the old histories that they have, it's really exciting. It's really pretty neat. And I think people will come forward and be part of hopefully part of this program. So we can
Every year, more and more disappears.
And that's exactly right. And that's right, Ben. And so we wanna. Jerry's part of the group right now, and myself and Mike and.
No, I'm not from Winslow, I'm from Palmyra. You know, I wouldn't qualify later, huh? You know, I've only lived here 35 years.
But if anybody, you know, we're just starting, but if anybody would like to be part of the group, and join us or donate, they can get a hold of Mike at the town office, and we can hopefully move forward with this.
We all set? Does anybody have any other items they'd like to discuss that aren't on the agenda?
Make a motion.
Either that, or I'll entertain a
Make a
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Move. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign.